All right, y'all. Hopefully the audio of this isn't too bad. If it is, I will just delete it and do voiceover. But I am bringing y'all along with me today to go to my side yard. Here's our little front patio area with the beautiful camellia bush that's doing its thing. This is our front garden bed. They're a little hard to see, but there are 3 blueberry bushes here. They're all twigged out for the winter. There's one, there's a second one, there's the third one, and then this bed down here is our strawberry bed that was blooming well into December. So today we are going to be dealing with this monstrosity that's alongside the house. So let's get down over there. All right, y'all, here is what we are dealing with today. These used to be lovely, lovely garden enclosures when my husband first built them during COVID. And they've just absolutely gone to pot. You can see there's trees growing up in there. You can see I've got a couple bins to put stuff in and some tools down here. And look at this. Look at how thick that tree is growing up there. So probably not great that that's grown right by the house. I am going to see how much of this I can take care of today. It's finally mostly died off. We used to have lovely peppers in here, and we had some tomato plants in here, and I think maybe some peas on the little thing in the corner. But yes, not useful right now. So let's clean this out so we can meet that goal of expanding our garden a little bit this year when it is time to plant again. All right. Here we go, y'all. I am putting on my gloves because there is a lot of wire mesh on here. And I don't do a ton of manual labor. My job is mostly clicking keys on a computer. So I want to protect my hands. Here is me absolutely struggling to open this side of this enclosure because the trees not only grew up through the top, but they also grew up through the sides. You can kind of see in the middle of that mesh, it just fell off. There was a chunk of tree hanging on. And this is me just trying to figure out a plan of attack. We're going to click the top parts of these trees and see if I can get those out of the way first. This is me struggling. You'll see in a little bit there are a couple of the trees where I can't get them with the hedge clippers. And it was crazy windy this day. I think there was a cold front moving in. I was freezing when I first started, but of course, manual labor warms you up like nothing else. But I had my hat on, and normally I don't do yard work with my hair down, but I wanted my hat to stay on really well and cover the entirety of my ears because it was so windy and cold out. And it just kept sliding down over my eyes and just really irritating me. So at one point you'll see me fling it off. But here's me just peeling this mesh off. It is stapled to the frame, and a lot of the staples had already come out. So it was, not much work to get that off, and it made it a lot easier to work in this enclosure after I took it off. But most of the stuff down here, other than the trees, it was completely dead. So that made this way easier to wait until everything died off. I'm sure my neighbors are incredibly happy that this is cleaned up now and they don't see just jungle growing in these enclosures anymore. We do live in town, so I think our lot is a little bit over a 1/4 acre, And we're on a cul-de-sac, so it's wedge shaped. So our house is kind of closer to our neighbors on this side of the house. This is the south side of the house, which is why we put these garden enclosures here. Yeah, I was able to He-Man that. It's amazing how much softer kind of pine tree wood is. I don't know exactly what kind of trees these are that, the coniferous tree that I cut down there. The one in the back right corner I know is a maple because I saw the maple leaves on it, before they all fell off for this video. But this one I think I do have to go and get the saw out. And I look like an absolute idiot using the saw, and it takes me forever to get through these, not because it's a particularly tough wood, but there's just so little area to maneuver the saw in there. They were growing pretty close to the edges of the enclosures in the cases of all 4 of those trees. And so I had to do like just such the tiniest saw motions ever. So I was going to say, please don't judge me. You can judge me if you want. I look like an idiot doing the saw thing. Maybe it's less obvious when it's sped up this much, but it would be really boring at regular speed. And you see me opening these tops and ducking down and in a lot. That is a little bit of an irritating thing about this, but even though, like I said, we live in town, we do have a decent amount of wildlife. We have pretty mature trees on our lot, so we have lots of squirrels, and we have some woods in the vicinity, and so there's lots of rabbits, and we occasionally see deer in our yard, but that's pretty unusual. We do have some large birds of prey, so it's always nice to see a hawk in the trees, or a few times we've seen an owl kind of when we do our evening walks around dusk. Sometimes they're out, which is a little weird, but yep, got to get this off for this one. And this is in such a tight corner, and I actually can't move the enclosure until I get this cut down. So you see me going at it from various angles here. And I do have my hand on the back of the saw to try to add some pressure, which is probably not proper technique or completely safe, but it got the job done eventually. Yay, I finally did it. And you could see it was still attached to the side there because it had grown through the side. And I did keep a little of the background noise in here so you could kind of hear how windy it was. But I think it's hilarious that you can hear the cars zooming by. We have a fence around our backyard, and we're required to have a fence along the very back of our property, which backs up along a 4-lane road. And the speed limit back there is only 45, but we also live in the southeast, and it's an area where people like to have souped up trucks and cars, and occasionally motorcycles, but honestly, the motorcycles are not terribly loud compared to some of the cars and trucks that we have. Yay, I got it done. And I'm looking at my watch, like, what time is it? Do I have time to do the other one? Because it didn't take nearly as long as I thought. But yeah, so some of the cars that you hear go by are quite loud, even though I have turned down the background noise quite a bit. I always like hearing the zooming noises of the traffic when someone has sped up a video, because I always imagine that it's like sound effects for how fast they're going since they're sped up. Maybe that's me just being super odd, but I guess that's like when baseball players walk out to their own introduction music or something. It's like, look how fast I'm going. You can hear all the cars speeding by in the background, all the zooming noises. All right, this tree actually grew up right in between these two enclosures. And I struggle quite a bit with this one just because there is like no room to get in there. And it was quite green still. So you can see it's really bendy here. And yes, I totally expect there to be many comments about how much I'm talking about wood and how thick or hard or bendy or soft or whatever. So, have that. But I don't even know what I'm doing here. There must be like a little stump or something. Oh, I think there was another couple little saplings back there that I didn't even label as trees. Me deciding what on earth to do with these tomato cages. And sorry, some of this is off camera. I thought the camera angle was a little bit better, but honestly, I was just trying not to stand between the camera and what I was doing here. And if I did, it was kind of like, oh well, I really need to get this done on a very short amount of time. This bed was way easier since it didn't have any trees growing up through the mesh. And all this stuff on the ground is pretty much just dead grasses and weeds. Some of it was a little sticky. We get the wild horse melon. I think that's what they're called. But it's a weed that grows here that has a lot of prickers on it. And then it gets these little, maybe like 1/2-inch balls on it that have a pretty kind of like watermelon pattern on them. But it's an invasive weed here that's really nasty to have to deal with when they're alive. I will have to say I'm very proud of myself. I completely expected me to rack my head multiple times on the top part of the frames like I did when we actually had a garden in here. My husband and I started this garden during COVID, which I think I said before. And the next year was the year that I had my daughter. So I had her in April. And I told my husband, I was like, if you want to do the garden on the side yard, have at. But I am not going to be involved. I just birthed the newborn. And I don't think I can do that. Because in our household, like my husband does the lawn work, but I do the weeding for the most part. So yeah, these have been definitely neglected for a number of years. But my kids really like picking the blueberry bushes, or picking the blueberries off the blueberry bushes, and really got into picking the strawberries from the plants in our front beds this past year. So I think it's time to reintroduce this. We'll have to figure out something they like. Me slowing it down for my thumbs up ta-da moment, I'm done. And then just cleaning up and putting all the tools up here. All right, y'all, that took about 35 minutes. Look at that. Is it pristine? No. We're gonna have to go in and dig up some stuff. But there are no longer trees growing in here. And it's a good start for prepping again in the spring. And we can look at these enclosures and decide what we want to do with them. I got out the tomato trellis, and in the ground here is this butterfly trellis thing. So I will put that under our sunroom. As you can see right there, that's the sunroom. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. I didn't think I was going to get both of those done. I thought I was going to have to stop after maybe getting one of them done. But luckily, most of the stuff had died off and was really easy to pull out. So I am super duper pleased with that. So this is what we had. Peppers grew really well here. So we had this sweet pepper, and we had just a normal jalapeno. My husband has grown habanero peppers in a pot that he keeps out front in the in-between years when we haven't been using this. But then we got the orange sweet pepper, and then the banana peppers. My husband really likes hot sauce and he likes to make it, so peppers is generally what we plant over here. And then we also did some tomatoes. The tomato plants got out of control in this enclosure. So maybe we will leave the mesh off of that one and grow tomatoes over here. I don't know, we'll see. I don't have plans yet for planting. We'll have to figure out what's easy to do so that the kids can be involved and get into it. But I'm super pleased with that. I am going to finish cleaning up my stuff over here and putting this stuff back in the garage, and obviously getting my tripod back inside because I don't want that living out here. And I will see y'all next time. Thanks for watching to the end. Bye.